Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back here diving deeper with Diana Bejasa doing what she does best, I should say, which is helping people like you get motivated, get going. And she's here as a burn through catalyst speaker as well, author of Manifest Your Dreams. And of course, she's a chapter success coach and so much more. We enjoy her company here, and she's hailing today, as always, live from beautiful Hawaii. Tell me about the weather right there, because I feel Christmas should be cold, but I bet you I can get used to warm weather.
Absolutely, Jill. Yeah, the weather here is beautiful, 80 degrees, ocean breeze. Sometimes it rains. That's about as tough as the weather gets on a regular basis. But it's generally just a beautiful day.
Beautiful. And I love your glow. It's the holiday glow. I mean, I hope you had an amazing holiday with your family, and excited to have you back here preparing for the new year and doing, so much that you do. You're here to help people manifest their dreams in a sense. And being that it's the new year, we're going to talk about maybe why you didn't really accomplish enough during the year. And you know what? No more excuses. Diana says, not happening. So tell us a little bit about this concept. And of course, first and foremost, where we can contact you. I always like establishing that, and sometimes I forget.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Diana Bejasa, Bejasa Speaks. You can also find my website, which is www.savorlifewithdiana.com. That's SAVOR lifewithdiana.com. And I do have my Manifest Your Dreams journal available on Amazon. The easiest way to find it is to search my name, Diana Bejasa.
All right. Well, let's get started, my friend. Let's talk a little bit about maybe sometimes why things do go wrong, why we're not accomplishing all that we set our, sights on. What is the real reason behind all this?
Yeah, so I find a lot of people, by the time that we get to the end of the year, we can kind of feel this sense of dissatisfaction, right? We're at that time of the year right now when everyone's reflecting on their goals, and many of us, many ambitious women, many ambitious professionals, we're probably feeling like we didn't accomplish enough, even if we hit many of our goals. And so sometimes we're looking through social media, looking at everybody else's wins and wondering why it still doesn't feel like enough. Why do we still feel behind even when we accomplish some of the things that we set ourselves out to accomplish? And what I've found is that it actually has nothing to do with the goals. It actually has nothing to do with anything external, because what if the problem isn't how much you did or how much you didn't do? What if the problem is the way that you're looking at progress altogether? And, by the end of this episode, we're going to actually uncover the real reason that we're stuck in this feeling of dissatisfaction. And we're going to set ourselves up with a new shift that's going to change everything for next year. So whether you're watching this at the end of the year or you're listening to this at any point, this can literally be a new beginning that's incredibly powerful and life-changing for you.
I'm interested to find out. I feel like it's just internal, like I'm patting my chest, like inside. Even though you think it's like, I don't know how to make that certain, as you mentioned, that changeover, that change, that it's just, I feel stuck myself. I think a lot of us are in certain aspects of our life. And, why? How do we get unstuck? How can you guide us to shift, as you mentioned, in a sense, and shift this mindset? Where do we even begin?
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into breaking that cycle of dissatisfaction, but let's first dig into why we got stuck here in the first place. So I don't know exactly what you've accomplished this year, Jill, but I'm quite certain it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. You're right. There's been some accomplishments, but I feel like there could have been more, and unfortunately I've already looked at the negative in a sense, right? Where I'm like, oh, well, I didn't make enough money. I didn't work enough. I didn't get that car. I wasn't able to buy that car. So I'm looking at, then I stop and I think, oh my gosh, I have a kid in second grade and in fourth grade, and I got to see them perform in the play and in chorus, and those are huge wins. Those are huge. Wow. They're learning how to do math better. There's a lot of gain. And, again, there's good and bad, right? How come I'm not, I'm not married still? Why am I not in a good relationship? Yeah, those things come up every 12 months or so, for sure.
Yeah, and I can totally relate and resonate. There can be all those sort of feelings, this recognition of like, wow, I did have amazing things that happened this year. And at the same time, it doesn't feel like what we did accomplish was enough. And so I want to dig into those sort of feelings, right? Because what I find, and I've shared this a little bit in the past, but like I talk a lot about this and I give tools for this in the Manifest Your Dreams journal. And why I mention that is because what I find is that a lot of us, high achievers, a lot of people who've accomplished a lot of extraordinary things in life, we tend to focus on what's still missing as opposed
Yeah.
to what is there, right? So maybe you didn't make all the money in the world that you wanted to make, but maybe you made a whole lot of money. Or maybe you served a whole lot of clients or you helped a whole lot of people. And instead of focusing on your progress, you're focusing on a goal that you set for yourself that was maybe too large or lofty, or maybe, life happened or whatever those things are. Or maybe you even hit the goal and then you set a new goal and you haven't reached that new goal yet, or whatever that looks like. There's actually ways that we're setting ourselves up for disappointment in general because we're constantly looking at what isn't there. And I call this, like, whenever I'm coaching people through the Manifest Your Dreams journal. So if people, kind of go beyond just buying the journal and actually want to work together, I talk about this as like stomping on the sprouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order for you to make $1 million, for example, that can sometimes be a goal that I'll hear my clients talk about setting for themselves in their business. Before you can make $1 million, you got to make 750.
Yeah.
You got to make 50K, right? You got to make 100K before you can reach $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that 50K or 100K or 750K or whatever the number is for you, it can seem too small. And so you look at what you have and you stomp on it. And then you do that when we stomp on the sprouts, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
allow for it, we don't nurture it, we don't allow for it to grow into its full form. And what we want to do instead is we want to recognize that part of the way that we got there, the weeding out another bad relationship um, or the progress we made towards our financial goals or towards the goals that we had in general, that is all progress. And so rather than focusing on the perfection of the goal or this high lofty thing that we want to achieve, there's space for us to say, wow, like I actually have some of these results in my life already. And
Yeah.
when we do that, feeling of encouragement for ourselves, that recognition allows for us to realize we're not starting from zero. We're starting with a little bit already, and we just have a little bit more to go. And that allows for us to experience that growth that we're really looking for. So it's really not about being behind because we didn't do enough. We're feeling behind because we refuse to see how far we've come. It's this perfectionism that's like stomping on the sprouts of the progress that we've already made. And we're so busy chasing that next milestone that we've forgotten to turn around and look at how far we've already climbed.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, thank you. You're right. You're right. And just by talking about this, I hope some of you at home or driving or work are realizing this and starting to think about the goods and the wins and celebrating them more than what we didn't do. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things that I talk about when I'm speaking to people who are finding that they're battling against burnout, right? They feel like they didn't do enough, and so they want to give up. They're feeling a lot of resentment, those sort of things. And that's not going to fuel our progress. That's going to
No.
keep us feeling stuck, right? Feeling stuck is a feeling, it's a
Yeah.
mind. And if instead you can be like, oh, well, I made a little progress today. Oh, I made a little more progress tomorrow. I've
Mm-hmm.
actually made little progress all throughout this week. Then what we have is momentum.
That's the word.
And it's a lot easier to move faster and faster and faster when we allow ourselves to build momentum. So when we're using the Manifest Your Dreams journal, the reason why my clients get results so quickly and effectively is because they're building on momentum. They already have some momentum. This is why I can't work with lazy people. I need to work with people who actually do the work and are willing to do work, because it's about seeing the progress that we're already making. And we got to be making some of those little steps every single day. Jill, I know you're doing a little bit of something towards your goals. And that means that if you just paid a little bit more attention to that, you have the ingredients to build that momentum and the progress that you really want. And as you continue to build that momentum and progress, you snowball, right? It gets easier and easier. You need less effort and you get large reward. And that's kind of the one of the theories behind how the Manifest Your Dreams journal works.
And where do we find that, by the way?
You can find it on Amazon. It's called Manifest Your Dreams, and you can look for it using my name. So Diana, Bejasa, Diana Bejasa.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, darling. And I know you've mastered that over, a lot that you went through with all your training and, of course, helping so many. And it's something good for everyone to pick up, and not just for today's topic, right? But for real, this can guide you and get you the places you need to go. And I'm the type of person that needs to. I'm visual. So I do need to read. I need to see. I can't just speak to you and get it. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm one of those that I have to have it down. So along with the journal, I would love if I was working with you. I'm sure a lot of people are making notes as they go along, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's for those visual people like me and you, I totally resonate with kind of it being very easy to get stuck in that negative mindset of feeling like we're not making progress. I felt like that for so much of my life. And these are tools that I've used with my clients, whether they feel stuck in burnout, whether they just feel dissatisfied, where they continue to see more and more progress, because what we're really doing is we're working with that scientific principle of momentum. But let's get into breaking the habit, right? Like let's stop feeling stuck in that dissatisfaction, and let's dig deeper into some of the psychological patterns, the subconscious beliefs, the conditioning that can actually lead to this dissatisfaction.
Perfect. Bring us on. Where are we starting? Ooh.
Okay, so one of the reasons that a lot of us feel dissatisfied as we're reflecting on our goal, on our progress, or on our results is a need for external validation. Now, as I'm going to mention some of these, I just invite for you to think about, like, where does this show up in my life right now?
Yeah.
And where did this maybe show up in the past for me? So maybe in my childhood, maybe it's something I saw my parents deal with. Maybe it's something I learned through society. Maybe it kind of points to a subconscious belief. And what we're wanting to do here is just dig deeper a little bit and say, like, where did this come from? So rather than feeling defined by this, how can I look inside and be like, let's be a little bit curious as to where this came from, because we don't want to get stuck in there. That's I think one of the challenges that we have when we just focus on going to therapy. It's like we can get into like the root of the thing, and then we're like exploring the roots, and it's like, let's plant something in there. Let's not just like play with the roots, like if we're going to get dirty and down and dirty in there, let's actually put something intentional in there, right? So let's dig stuff up, but let's do it with the intention of turning it into something, growing something out of it, and not just getting our hands and nails and everything dirty. So again, external validation. So where is it that we're looking for something outside of us to make us feel whole? And a lot of times this comes from childhood patterns of being rewarded for achievement versus effort. I think a lot about this with my daughter, right? Like when we're rewarding people for achievement versus effort, then they only feel good when they have the win, and they don't feel good for all the effort that they're putting in. And effort is the thing that fuels the achievement long term. This can also, I think we've talked about it in the past, but Carol Dweck talks a lot about in her book, Mindset, how when you just identify a child as smart, for example, if there's ever a subject where they're having difficulty learning, and this goes for us as adults as well, right? If we just think of ourselves as smart or whatever, what that does for us is the second that we don't feel smart, we don't feel challenged, like, oh, okay, let me try to figure this out. We kind of back away from it because it's something that doesn't make us feel like ourselves, or we're afraid of losing that title that we've gained from other people, this way that other people have identified us. Whereas if you are encouraged by putting in effort, wow, I see that you put a lot of, like, when I see my daughter struggling with a puzzle, right now she's learning how to put puzzle pieces into places. And I praise her for the effort, or for what I see her like thinking or trying or focusing. I try to do that versus just clapping or saying yay when she actually gets the piece in. Getting the piece in is not the thing. No. It's the trying. It's it's, whether if your kid's not doing that, it's the getting up after you fell down, right? Like that's the thing to celebrate.
It is.
Not the getting to, not the passing the goalpost or any of those
Yeah,
things.
not
It's
the trophy from the sport that's won or the award from. Yeah, you're right.
And it's not to say that those are not things to celebrate, but there's a um,
Different.
there's like a over focus on the external and not enough of the focus on the internal. Who did you become as a result of trying, right?
Of
Um,
working towards this goal of getting where you. Yeah.
yeah. The other thing is the belief that rest or reflection is lazy.
Ooh, what's that one? Wait, rest or I never heard this. Rest or reflection?
So a lot of people feel like when they're resting or they're just like doing
Oh,
nothing, right?
I feel like a failure.
Yeah, it feels like we're not being productive. It feels like so it feels like
That's
we
so
like
funny.
guilt ourselves for taking that rest time, right? We feel guilty for giving ourselves that space to take a break when in fact it's one of the most effective and the efficient things that we do. I talk about it a little bit as well in the Manifest Your Dreams journal. For me, I was that person who liked to overwork, who thought it was all about like doing more, producing more, all those sort of things. And I thought that meant like no rest. Um, but rest is actually a step built into my 15-minute manifestation magnet system in the journal through the meditation process, right? And I talk about it a lot more when I'm coaching people, and like even in the journal, I talk a little bit more about it. But the idea is, and I think that the thing that probably illuminated this the most for me was when I was working with a personal trainer, and I had sets to do, right? And so I finish one set and I try to go right into the next set instead of taking a break, right? And my trainer first started to stop me when he saw me do this, and then he was like, "Wait a second, I'll just let
Hey.
you learn for yourself," right? Which is the best way to learn, really. It made the lesson stick for me in such a profound way, and so he let me just go back into doing the next set. And I noticed, about 3 reps in, 4 reps in, like my form's starting to fail, right? I'm slouching my shoulders a little bit more. It's harder. I can't quite lift the same. I'm having to compensate from other parts of my body. So he lets me finish the second set and he asks me to reflect on it. He's like, okay, so how was that second set for you? And I was like, oh yeah, I noticed that I wasn't doing quite as well as, it was harder for me to stand straight. Like he was pointing out to me as well, like the way my second set sucked because I didn't give myself rest. And he said, okay, now I want you to give yourself the full rest and now try for this third set. And I could see it gave me the energy that I needed, the space that I needed to move back into proper form and to do things in a way that made it so that I really was firing the muscles that I was working, as opposed to trying to compensate from other places, overworking other muscles that weren't even supposed to be part of the exercise. So I say that because it's the same thing for us when we rest, right? Like rest is not lazy. Rest can be strategic. Rest can be something that fuels us, right? Like when you see cars like in the what is it called, the Indy 500, where they take a pit stop, right? It can be seconds, that pit stop, but that's what allows for them to continue to perform at that very, very high
Optimal
level.
levels. Yep.
It is a pit stop where they're recalibrating, right? They're making sure that everything is in order, that everything is working.
Okay.
They're giving themselves a little bit of fuel, and that's what's going to fuel them and allow for them to perform consistently. Like imagine if those cars were not taking pit stops regularly. The
Yeah.
wheels
Yeah.
go off, right? Like all those different things. So rest and reflection is not lazy. It's efficient. But we learned this in childhood, right? We see our mothers working tirelessly.
Never napping on the go, on the
Glorify,
go, on the go. Yep.
yeah. Start to glorify it. Oh, this is what motherhood is. This is what being a good parent is. This is what and so we begin to believe and see for ourselves that that laziness is a bad thing, or that rest is a bad thing, and we actually have a negative connotation to being lazy. And what I say, like when I coach people, is I don't work with lazy people. I work with people who think that being lazy is bad. Because
It's so true.
it's
Yep.
an idea, right? So this is a lot about us associating worth with output, right? And again, there are these patterns that end up keeping us stuck in these feelings of dissatisfaction, burnout, resentment. And so if we're noticing that, like, yeah, pretty much every year I get to this point, right? At the end of the year, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really feel that awesome about what I achieved, no matter what I
Yeah.
achieved, then we got to look at the pattern and start to really think not just, do I want to continue to live this way, but do I want to continue to lead others in this way? Showing them this, because they're learning our pattern, right? The people who learn from us, who follow us, they're picking up what we're putting down, even if we're not saying it.
It's true. Yeah, especially the little ones. They know they pick up on everything we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So rather than chasing goals, let's chase validation, right? Or sorry,
Well,
rather than chasing goals, let's recognize that what we're really doing is chasing validation, thinking somebody else is going to give it to us. And instead, what we want to do is validate ourselves. I deserve this rest because I've put in work. I need this rest to refuel myself, right? I deserve, like, this is about thinking about the things that we've kind of struggled with in the past in a different way, and recognizing that the habits that helped us reach this level of success, they're not going to take us to the next level. We've got to do something different, and that's a lot of what I teach when I'm coaching people, when people are using the Manifest Your Dreams journal.
wow. And just curious, how long does it normally take, on average, right? Everyone's different, but to break this kind of stuckness and habits, how long does it take to start to see a change and to keep up the momentum for the change? What do you recommend?
Okay, so you asked actually a lot of different questions. I'm going to break it down a little bit.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I go
Okay.
blah, 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 blah.
No, so you can begin to feel a difference with my journal within 7 days. You begin to see difference within a month.
Oh,
It's really powerful and it's profound. I see it all the time when I work with my clients. Like literally, we start, give them the journal, see them in a week, and they like I can see the difference on their faces, their energy. So you can experience a change quite quickly. It does not need to take that long, and especially when people work with me, coaching one-on-one, I use energy psychology as a means of breaking a lot of these subconscious patterns. So things that seem like they'd take decades because it took decades to program, they can go away in months. So yes, that's absolutely true. But what I'll tell you also is that if you are continually leveling up, there is a degree to which you're going to see this pattern reemerge again, because you'll clear it at this level to get to the next level, but you're going to see it again here. You're going to need to develop higher levels of skill around that challenge that you faced before to get out of the next level. Does that make sense? So you're like I when I talk about it with expansion and growth, I kind of remind people and my clients that we live in a spiral universe. Everything is in an upward pattern of a spiral that's going up. So sometimes you see the same thing. I'm sure, Jill, you've experienced this because of your healing, your own experience with healing. Sometimes you think that you healed through something, you're continuing to move and grow and elevate, and then all of a sudden the thing comes back and you're like, I thought I was done with this.
uh-huh. Yep. Doesn't work that way
And
sometimes. There's more work
yeah,
to be done.
more work to be done. Instead of being angry at yourself, what I tell my clients when they notice that they came back to the thing, it's not that you went backwards down the spiral. It's that you
Hmm.
elevated yourself in the spiral to now you're looking
True.
at this from a different perspective, and you have a new level to break through to get out of where you are right now. You're now at a like it's like if you think about it like you're playing a video game, right? Like maybe you beat that boss at that other level, but you got to beat him at this level. And it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit, it's different, right? You need to develop new skills. You need to, but that's what I love about the energy psychology work. You can actually reuse the same tools that you use at that level to break through on the next level. So the tool remains the same, but the work, just you got to do it again in that new way, in that new place.
All right, and that helps us become unstoppable, as you say, right? And to
Yes.
no level, to no end, I should say, right? Like this could go on, and I'm sure you have, a whole bunch of success stories, even in your own personal life and journey, how you've gotten where you are, right? It wasn't always easy, and still isn't. And you're working on things as a single mom, my goodness, as an entrepreneur, doing so much that you do. Ah,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, so let's talk about that unstoppable momentum. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but the solution is not doing more. It's learning to celebrate our progress and using that as fuel for the future. Now, this feels very, very uncomfortable when you come from a place where your progress was,
Mm-hmm.
and like you hear even some parents who are cynical and they're like, oh yeah, you just give a trophy to everybody these days, and it's not about giving a trophy to everybody, but there is something about recognizing everybody's progress, right? There's growth that everybody is going through. Everybody is going through their own level of growth, and there's no reason to say that you are the only one who deserves the
Yeah.
recognition because you grew to this level. Like everybody has a space where they can gain from recognition. And if you're going to just continue to tell the kids who didn't do that well, like, oh, what you did was not enough, you're not encouraging them to improve or to grow.
No.
And even if you do, so there were ways, like one of my patterns that I noticed was like in my childhood, my mom would often challenge me by like, paying attention to the 3%. Like, so say I got like a 97 in school or something like that. She would pay attention to the 3% that wasn't there, right? And I'd be like, I'll show her, like I'm gonna get a 100 the next time, right? And I didn't realize how over time in my life that fueled this pattern for me of being like, of like, like making progress through anger. It's very different to have the energy of like, I'm gonna show them, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
beat them, versus to do it because you're truly in the game of improvement. And I think about Kobe Bryant a lot of times when I think about that. Like he wasn't just about the win, he was about growing himself. And I think that there's a real difference in that nuance. And so yes, you may want to win the game, but when your day-to-day focus is on beating somebody else or like showing them, right? Like I even think about Khloe Kardashian's like revenge body TV show, right? Like when the reason that you got the body was for revenge against them. Like there's something that feels hollow inside when you get it because you didn't do it with a mindset of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when we instead celebrate our progress, that's the missing piece, right? It's not about looking back and getting stuck. It's about looking forward or looking back to build that energy that's going to help us go forward.
Mm.
It's not about self-indulgence, right? It's fuel
No.
that's building momentum. And the fastest way for us to reach those goals is to take this moment right now and just celebrate how far you've already come.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the little pep talk. I mean, and the pep reminder that, you know what, we do have to start celebrating our wins. And yeah, the little things do count. And we should not be as hard. Why are we so hard on ourselves? Is it every human being in the world or are the people who really just get it? Because I'm this way. I'm built the way, we're talking about now. I've been looking at my negative for the year so far. Oh, end of year's closing. Oh, I didn't get to do this. I didn't do that. I didn't do enough. I didn't make enough. And I'm like, I sound like a little bit of a negative Nancy. I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And what I would bet, Jill, is that if you looked at it from the other perspective, like there's actually a
A
ton that
ton of
you've done.
stuff. I absolutely. I think
And
all of us. It's just,
yeah. And whatever we focus on is going to expand. And that's what I love about this Manifest Your Dreams journal. It's about expanding your progress. It's about expanding the great things that are showing up in your life. It's about having focus through the visualization on the things that matter the most to you. It's about giving yourself an opportunity to rest and relax in the visualization that you really want to be building, and then asking yourself, okay, how am I going to move forward from here? And so it only takes 15 minutes. Again, you can get it on Amazon. Look it up using my name. So Diana Bejasa, Bejasa. It's only $33. It's a great way to get started. But if you're also wanting additional support, another great option is to schedule a free consult with me. And you can find the link for that on my website, www.savorlifewithdiana.com. That's SAVOR, Life with Diana.
beautiful. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here. Great putting new perspective into us and to really focus on 2025 and what's ahead. And remember, we all have had accomplishments. Seriously, you got to go back, got to think, and then get started. And let's make this year our best year. Thank you so much. How do we contact you again?
Yes, so you can find me, Diana Bejasa Speaks, at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and or on my website, www.savorlifewithdiana.com,
All right.
or you can get the journal on Amazon. But just a quick reminder as well, remember that whether you're watching this as the new year starts, or you can choose any day is a great start for a great day for
Perfect.
a fresh start,
I
right?
know what you meant.
It doesn't come from a new calendar. It
Aw.
comes from changing how we see ourselves. And that can happen right now in this moment today.
Thank you so much, Dana. I'll see you in the next year for sure. Thank you for the reminder, and let's all move forward together here. So, wishing you a happy and healthy and positive one, everyone out there, and I'll talk to you. See you next year.
Yes. See you next year, Jen.
Bye. Using the line for the first time today. Thank you, Diana. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
They'll challenge your authority.
Seatbelt on.
They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.